Indie games come in all shapes and sizes, some that are decent, and some that I wish would descend into the pits of hell. Yo, what's up, it's Pikakid98 here, and today I'm going to be talking about why I prefer indie games to AAA games. Well, most modern AAA games are usually safe, stick to a formula, you know, the generic FPSs, or basically just generic in general. I mean, obviously with a few examples from Nintendo being one of the few AAA companies that actually seem to try, you know, with like Super Mario Galaxy 2 and Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, which I herald as one of my favourite games of all time, and Super Smash Bros. In general. I just chose Brawl because I have Brawl in. But obviously some other companies that aren't Nintendo that are AAA do put out some pretty decent games, like the Ratchet & Clank series. Once again, I'm using 2 as the example because I don't have any of the others. But mostly, you never know what to expect from indie companies. It can be an experiment of like maybe a shooter with a claymation style, pretty decent music. For some reason, remixes from old Commodore 64 games, which you may have heard me use. And then some other games, which were thought long dead, but then ended up coming back because of fan outcry of cult classics such as KO the Kangaroo Round 2, which, as I've stated, has been re-released on Steam. In fact, Platypus has been re-released on Steam too, both of them. And then some people try to experiment and completely fail, making some pretty terrible games. But this isn't just indie developers' fault, and this is what people who only play AAA games should understand. Some people would only go for these kinds of games, the big budget AAA games, because they're from a reliable company that you know will give you a good game. But most of the time they're usually safe. You know, 3D platformers, adventure games, which this is still a good game, but you know what I mean. Fighter games, they're all pretty safe. Or even shooter games. But with indie games, they usually aren't tied down by a big company telling them what to do. Now this is a video I have been wanting to make for a while, just to get the word out to support the indie developers. Seriously, there are so many great indie games out there that so many people don't even take a second glance at because it's indie or the graphics suck. Great graphics do not make a good game. That's the thing that so many people need to realise. If a game is big budget, sure, it'll have like amazing graphics, it'll be super shiny, it'll look amazing. But just because a game is 8-bit in 2019 doesn't mean to say that no effort was put in. That's why these days we're pretty much spoiled by AAA titles. And obviously these are just a few examples since I don't really have any more modern games of AAA games. But yeah, we're pretty much spoiled by the same kind of shit. FPS games and third-person shooters, first-person shooters. AAA companies never seem to do anything other than MMORPGs, shooter games. Now obviously these days, if someone went to a shop and found this, they would just think, that looks terrible. But like, what is this? Is this like DeviantArt level? This looks like complete fucking garbage. And they wouldn't even give it a second chance. They wouldn't even pick it out. Or they would pick it out, say it looks like shit, and put it right back. They wouldn't even give it a single chance just because of the cover or the background, cause the graphics look shit. And the fact is, so many people are probably, as I said before, some people are probably only used to shooter games. Because AAA companies seemingly never go outside of the safe norms. If a AAA company makes anything other than a third-person shooter, a first-person shooter, or a fighting game, if they make like a 2D platformer, they are considered lazy. No! Stop assuming that. Just because the graphics aren't up to your standards doesn't mean to say the game is going to be complete shit. And that's what people have to realise. Stop judging a game by its graphics. And going back to KO2 for example, this game when it first came out sold so poorly. Like, the physical run of this game was absolutely terrible. It was like, if I remember correctly, I think it was like 100,000 copies, which for game developer standards is terrible. That would that would be considered a failure. For these developers, that was impressive. Like, they realised that all those people bought their game. They didn't care how much it was considered a failure in the eyes of companies and game developers. They just cared people are actually playing our game. And that's so heartwarming just to know that no matter how many it's sold, they just care that people are actually buying their game. As long as it sells something and someone's actually playing the game. And then they re-released it on Steam and it sold almost 1 million copies. About 3, almost, like, it's amazing. And that's honestly really inspiring for someone like me as a game developer. And that's why I say support the indie developers, support the small companies that put their heart and soul into these little games. Don't just judge it based on the graphics, because just because it's using 8-bit or 16-bit doesn't mean to say it had any less effort put in than these. In fact, I would say some indie games put even more effort in than AAA games. Because, for example, what number of, like, Call of Duty are we on? We're like Call of Duty 7 by now or whatever. What's different? What about Assassin's Creed? What's different? It's the exact same game. Not every single game that they make has to have a sequel, and a sequel after that, and a sequel after that. It doesn't have to become a franchise. Not every single game has to be a franchise. And that's what's lost with AAA games. They make a game, they realise it sold well, they make a sequel. Personally, what I see with AAA games is that most companies just see a product first and a game second, if even they see a game. Companies like Nintendo are an exception. They do try to make good games. They do try. Remember another Metroid 2 remake? Apparently that was in development for over 10 years. Now obviously, it was sort of an on and off kind of thing. That is why indie games, in my opinion, are so much better than AAA games. You can find so many fantastic indie games that don't follow the norms of the marketing strategy, you know, making full-priced games and putting microtransactions in them. So seriously, if you're a AAA fan, give them a try. Don't judge them by the cover. Don't say it looks like shit. Don't just play it for a few moments and hear the voice acting's cringy, uninstall, refund. Give it a good try. Don't judge it. Not just with this game, with any game. If you see that a game has like cringy voice acting or not that good graphics or something like that, there's likely something good about it. So yeah, that was just a quick rant about, you know, why I think indie games are better than AAA games. I have wanted to make this video for a while, just to basically get the word out there. So anyway, I've been your host, Pikakid98. This has been a Pikakid98 retrospective, and you've all been fantastic. So until the next video, I say bye-bye.